We are going live quite so soon, as you will have Moro playing against Feila in the lower bracket final of this pre-season Premiership qualifier. In the blue, we have the Feila squad. It is Litfam on the scout class. I don't even have to write jokes for that one. I mean, this storyline just writes itself. Wonderful name, without any, thoughts in my head. Then Orange on the Soldier class, Old School on Pyro, what a fantastic name as well, should probably be running Shotgun 24/7. Then Joe, Newcastle United Football Club, Number on the Heavy class, then Cluty on Engineer, never was an L so essential to a name, but continuing with that L, it will be Layla on the Medic class, Chocolate on Sniper, maybe Vanilla Loadout, and Raylan coming in on the Spy S. Who's opposing them on tomorrow?
Yeah, as we quickly head towards this final little bit of setup, we have Cannon on Scout, Mong on Soldier, Yorn on Pyro, Davey on Demoman, Dastron on Heavy, Blair, also known as previously known as Skyfox on Engineer, Watter on Medic, Funsky on Sniper, and Jerkus on the Spy.
The gates to open up. We saw some crits, sticky shenanigans, Watter switching to this minigun a bit later maybe than expected. He's only on 80%, so if they were to push out and they would have the info, then the defensive team wouldn't even have Uber to respond to this, but it's a very normal meta game that we're seeing right now. Literally everyone from Feila is on A and they're capping it, so right now the action can begin.
It looks like the blue team, Feila eSports, trying to pressure onto E. Be interesting to see if they commit to an AE push or whether they try for a drop-down rotation, but it looks like they're going quite deep into a drop-down. Joe going into the connector and now into under, but Jerkas, knowing what he's doing, playing on a team with Joe previously, catches him out and actually kills him in under, stuffing that push for now. Watter drops though, Chocolate snipes her head off, and it's massive advantage now for Feila eSports with full Ubercharge advantage. They are forced to use it, but they've got the heals advantage, no spy on the side of Moro to call what's happening, and it looks Feila rotating back towards A to go drop down with their heals advantage.
Those pick classes were so essential to that entire passage of play working. Layla was already in a position where she could have been easily forced, but they dropped Watter, which means right now Watter is still down and they're not even trying to commit here to E because they have the experience, and probably Joe is main calling forward that they're easily going to take that second point here right now. B, so many players falling. Raylan is stabbing the defensive Demoman, which inhibits any progress onto defending these points here, and it is still an Uber advantage onto Layla. They gun through the drop down and had a quick wraparound play. It will only be some minutes. They're under 2 minutes for the B point and already on C, fully set up with a sentry gun.
Yeah, that's really strong first push with getting 3 points in probably about 2 minutes 10 here, as Feila still have an Uber charge advantage. Watter not built her Uber quite yet, but Davey getting that 25-second spawn, getting stabbed by Raylan, was one of the roughest things I think I've ever seen for holding a B point. But it looks like now that Watter has her Uber, it could be some sort of stabilization for Moro as long as they can keep the sentry gun up, but it's getting spammed down. The Wrangler not enough to keep it up, and now the Uber's actually been forced out on the side of Feila. They have used the Uber charge, and so have Moro as they try to take out this sentry gun from long range. Mong goes down, so that's less spam. Raylan with a key stab as they are stacking the D point. Feila, they've got so much time on this D point, and Moro are all stuck inside that spawn. The sentry gun having to go back up. It's level 2. Namba falling into the pit. Exclamation mark pit in chat, please. But it's not bad enough for Feila, and they've got 2:49 for 4 points. That's one of the fastest times I think I've ever seen.
Finally though, Joe falls down finally for the defensive team, as that might inhibit them pushing instantly onto that E point. You said it, not even 3 minutes to only have 1 point to go, and we saw how quick Feila were there to react to the fact that they got forced. I don't see what they got forced to. I mean, there was Yokas behind, maybe stabbing Layla in the face. She wasn't even that low, but maybe the calls coming in, then they immediately rotated to D, but trying to make amends for it right now as Chocolate already on a 5k. The sniper trying to make his name known, and they're pushing here with the Uber advantage, completely trapping out the defensive team, completely destroyed.
Yes, Watter dying with 99%. That's got to be so hurtful for Moro. Feila just taking it in deep. They know they have a very small sliver of Ubercharge advantage, and they make the most of it. And it just looks like they're trying to cap it, but it's only Joe on the point getting spammed by a Pyro. Doesn't manage to take him out, but it's actually just not much pressure from Feila eSports on this point. They have so much space, but nobody's just capping. They are starting to get more players onto the point, but people from Moro started coming to BC to contest the point. Layla goes down to a snipe from Funsky, and it's just tables are turning left, right, and centre as Moro lose 5. I don't know what's going on.
Pick classes are dictating this game right now. As Funsky gets a complete annihilation, close range headshot.
What is going on?
Again, Spy comes in. Yokas gets a 2k after Raylan got a 2k. So many players are performing right now. Fusky's still up on Pride on his 7k. They can't control. He gets another one. He is not wanting to play the next season. Maybe some accusations coming in afterwards. He is the sole reason right now why they're still in this chocolate, returning in kind. But finally they're getting some time off that clock.
That is unbelievable. Oh my god, these pick, they were 3 up and they haven't, they're still defending. They were 3 up and Feila were 6 or 7 up. That's unbelievable, but it looks like now with Layla and Namba coming in from behind that they're trying to take control of this DE connector, which they have done. Everyone's now down back in the respawn queue on the side of Moro, and Feila finally look like they're going to be ending up this cap. The gun going up into heaven, but it's not going to last. Only a level 1 and a 5-minute 18-second time from Feila eSports. The majority of that being just on 1 point.
If that action is a precursor to this night, then I'm not even sure if I and my heart is able to take it and is ready for it. That was a lot of singular players really playing stellar and out of their minds in the last clutch moments. We had, as you already pointed out, first 4 points basically going down in under 3 minutes, and then 2.5 minutes were right then chunked off only for the E point, because we had medics exchanging, we had Fusky being on an 8k at the end, Chocolate being on a 6 or 7k before that, Spice coming in really clutch, getting double frags, and it will be a sort of medium time. We don't really know if it's a decent time regarding that game, because steal times are sometimes quite... You have to set them into relation in terms of the game that you're playing right now, but I would say that 5:18 isn't the fastest time in the world, but it's a decent time for both teams to work with.
Yeah, it's definitely possible to push in, as Feila have just shown, but it's a very strong time, probably an average of about 6.5 minutes for a Prem team to push steal. So it's above average, so Moro have their work cut out in this round, but it's definitely possible. The pick classes on both teams are absolutely destroying. Funsky's top scoring for Moro, Raylin for Feila, so the medics are being outscored at the moment. Quick cap, as per usual, on the A point for Moro here as they rotate through spawn, going for a more standard B push, probably going to clear up with the Bonk Atomic Punch to try to clear top the Sniper the Heavy, and then kill the Teleporter as well.
Everything is getting reflected away, though Destron falling, Namba or Ariane as he's tagged up or on the server is cleaning everyone out there with a Tomislav, a 3 or 4k for him, and Davey even falling in the end to Old School on that detonator, which is also, I suppose, to Old School as an Old School weapon, relating to the fact that we didn't really get any real new weapons in the last 8 years or something, but he's still controlling that, and so we're just waiting for another push out.
Yeah, we have Jerkus coming in from behind. He is dead-ringed. Litfam looking out for it, but Chocolate going down to Mong, who gets the trade. And Namba also goes down. So the Teleporter is down. They have done their job up top. They've cleared the top. They now just need to take in this Uber, take the trade, and try to win in the post-fight. The Ubers are indeed traded. The Uber is just awful for Moro, though, as they get just air blasted back into spawn.
They used really early. I didn't really see the reason why, because they weren't stared down by a sniper in that sort of long angle there, but they still used early, and therefore that meant that it was such a much longer Uber duration for the defensive team, and they're still getting bullied in there. The Davey on that demo man falling to the stickies of Joe, and there's a level 3 sentry gun on the offense, but it is even getting spammed right now, so they're trying to clutch it, but you see it's only 3 minutes, so they really have to get the gears going.
Yeah, at this point I'd be thinking about rotating towards A as they are doing, going for an AE and at least maybe if you don't quite get the AE, you're going to make them rotate, and then you've got a drop-down play that you can do. But at this point, I'm thinking maybe we just commit to some sort of AE push. Raylan doesn't seem to be spawning it, so it seems like it's quite a slow rotate.
Look at Mong is hiding. Oh, he drops down right now.
Oh my
god. He doesn't get it, unfortunately, but this spot right there, he is trying to invent new strategies. Did not see that, but eventually didn't work out.
Oh no, Joe with the sticky trap killing Davey as well, and Cannon's too weak to contest the point. So now we just have Moro sitting in White Room, currently doing nothing, just sitting around a gun. And Feila just happy to stay in BEC connector to just wait out, see what's going on. Never mind, they're rotating back, trying to defend the B point from the oncoming onslaught. Oh my god.
Well, they're using the right now onto
oncoming onslaught. My god.
Onto a lot of players. Hopefully they don't have to use so many complex words in their comms, because that could again be a precursor to this push right now, falling a little bit apart really, as they used early to compensate for the fact that they had a lot of players around and maybe were banking onto that surprise factor, but it didn't really seem to matter in the end result. Husky does get a headshot, which will greatly matter in the end result if they just walk in forward, because it's only 1.5 minutes. They have to get the gears grinding, as I'm going to repeat myself.
Yes, they do. Joe goes down, which is a very good start, and so does Old School, so that's no reflect and no spam from the demo man. So Feila wisely giving up the B point on Moro, taking all the space they can. At this point, though, they do need to just roll into BEC, leave like a scout or so to cap on, and you need to take as much space as possible. Don't give Feila any chance to set up. You need to be capping the E point as soon as possible. Every second off that clock is just vital for Feila eSports and Moro in turn. We have about a ×2 gives you a 46-second cap, ×3 gives you 38, so every single person on that point counts. We have just ×1, which is a 70-second cap, which is not quick enough. It's going to be tough for Moro to actually do anything here, but there's only 2 up. They do have an Uber, so it is blockable, but nobody capping the point. There's nothing to block. Feila not having to do any work.
They definitely need to get onto the point. Also important to point out that the bridges don't get elevated until you cap the C point, and they can't, and because they don't have the time to cap that C point, so only a few jumping players can get onto that point with the help of some assets, of some weapons. The gun is right now set up, but we have a full respawn wave coming in, and Joe is trying to spam it away. He got Uber used onto him. Wata did not pop his Uber just yet, but they are not any prolific position to even use it onto the defensive team. Yet they fall down once again because Yoka's got a double stab. They're still lacking onto that very, very crucial cap time.
Yeah, the cap time is just too slow, unfortunately. Not on the cap early enough, and all that time spent while Feila was in the respawn queue with nobody on the cap looks like it's going to mean that Feila eSports hang on by about 5 or 6 seconds, and Moro not quite quick enough to take the round. Feila eSports up 1-0.
Yeah, I mean, right now Moro can dictate how fast they want to push, and we'll see if they want to have the traditional A, B, C, or the vowel push, how I always like to call it, even though, you know, everyone who is really, really good in their language knows only A and E are vowels, so I mean the AE push, as the second round is going to commence.
Yes, here we go. This time Moro starting off their push, as you said. Previous time of 5 minutes 18 set by Feila eSports is what they will want to be beating, both to make them feel confident in their defending abilities, and also if it does go to a third round, they then would get to choose whether they start on defense or on offense.
To protect Davy's honor, I also want to point out, since viewers can't see, that he's on 120 ping and leading the ping difference in quite the margin. I'm also going to point out, because he put his in his profile name, as the gates do open up right now. We have a little bit of downtime. Didn't even see KritzKast plugged anywhere into juicy positions. They also didn't find any success early on, but it is always a bit of a danger and precarious engagement if you have KritzKast lying around and you have to clean this up. Probably going to save you like 10 seconds, but the cap is going to go down. 20 seconds on point again. This has to be timed.
Yes, it's the same as Feila had last time, so nice and speedy. We've got some confirmation. We have Davey on mobile Wi-Fi, or mobile data. That's why his ping is so high. So it'd be tough for him. But we have the Bonk Scout coming up. It's a repeat of the last round. The soldier does go down. Cannon does manage to kill Number and kills the telly as well. So that's really good going for Moro, a lot more successful than last time. So they won't have to have a heavy up top. They've got the Uber coming in, they take the trade, the Pyro does get the air blast on the side of Feila, Old School doing the work. And now KritzKast coming in, no one is checking him, he does get the DR to get behind. So they have a spy behind and the Bonk Scout coming in, getting destroyed by the sentry gun. But that is all she wrote for that push, as Feila seemed to be perfectly content with just finishing up the stragglers and holding on nice and easy with the battalion's backup.
Mong is not going to be happy with that engineer, as he's going to get wrangled in the air, and afterwards, or before even that, Number did lose the fight there on top because the bonked in scout was blocking all of his shots and therefore he got cleaned up. But afterwards, Destron was not really able to make all that much with that entire ground, and it seems to be a rotate, as we are seeing Feila right here rotate to the E point, trying to meet Moro, as Dewi is already very, very far on.
Yeah, so no Uber is in play at the moment. Wiethoofd has a slight disadvantage, in fact. Layla building lovely and getting that Uber nice and quickly as Moro go back towards drop down, getting that final few percentage of Uber. But we have just such a slow rotate, means that Feila already with 3 frags and their post is going to be a lot better. Dastron's going to get caught here, going to get caught in drop down. He can't escape, he's going to be caught in, and it means that Layla is nice and safe. Wiethoofd is nice and safe, but nobody is making progress on Moro towards this B or E point.
That was so heartbreaking for Moro, as I come to this thought in a bit, as Chocolate gets double fully charged body shots, or well, body shots there, and even finishes off Yarn, so that's technically a 3k for him, but 1 or 2 percentages apparently do matter, as they got the amazing snipe there onto Joe earlier on Moro, and therefore he couldn't stick that off. But the problem was, as they dropped down, Wata was only on 98%, and therefore they lost 2 players because he couldn't even flash all the players, since he didn't have Uber, and therefore they had to succumb to this Wrangled Sentry Gun, which is still up. So we're still waiting for any entrance here.
Yeah, so we have Cannon pressuring the E point, but Litfam just taking the scout 1v1, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem as Dastron and Mong both go down. They do trade for Old School Funsky, but Joe goes down to a backstab from KritzKast. That's a massive frag on the side of Moro, and Number goes down to Funsky, so that's loads of in fact all the defensive classes on the side of Feila eSports just getting killed by Moro as Moro come in to start to cap the B point. They're not on great pace, but it's not the worst pace that I've ever seen on Still, so still a lot of round to be played.
We are privy to this ancient tactic of working together with your team in Team Fortress 2. Would have thought that this bears fruit, but the entire combo there onto Feila falling down to coordinated aggression, and we are still watching for the playmaker. Yes, Mong is in, and he does get the crucial drop there onto Layla. She falls down, so that's such a big opportunity right now for Moro.
Yes, that's a lovely frag from Mong there, opening up the play for them to come in onto this BEC connector, but they don't actually have. They're not really doing much with all the space that they've got from these heals that they've got. And in fact, Number gets the frag onto Dastron, trading heavies. Chocolate gets the frag onto Funsky, and Davey's just going to get destroyed by the sentry gun. They're not spamming the sentry gun, they're trying to jump it instead. They could have just walked back a bit and spammed it. And it means that this overcharge advantage that is slowly fading away, they're not really doing much with it.
Probably Wata is going to get forced here, stays in the dispenser, hides with the dispenser armor, and you called it out. That reminded me of Monty Python's Flying Circus. A lot of clowns were in the air, they're trying to jump a sentry gun. You have to shoot it ancillarily to even get it down. Davey so weak on that low ground, doesn't have the support. Uber, offensive Uber, fully up. Don't know what Wata was doing, or if they didn't even have the coordination, because right now getting forced in such a passive position onto Destron, they're not going to make anything out of that.
Yes, unfortunately Wata got caught on the right hand side of this doorway from the red perspective, and it just meant that Joe could lock her in, and Wata got her Uber forced, so not only did they not take advantage of their Uber charge advantage. They've completely lost it, and they could have built a new Uber entirely. This battalion's back up on the side of Orange is actually doing so much work. There's 2 battalions that have foiled Moro's pushes so far, and now that they have the Uber on the red side, they're coming in, playing aggressively. The Yorn goes down, Dastron goes down, and Mongs. That's 3 frags from the Uber, and it means that they've taken control of the BEC connector once more. They have gifted Wiethoofd about a 45% Uber charge advantage, but the space that they get with that Uber is pretty much worth it.
Fusky does get the frag there, the passive frag onto Joe as Joe blows himself up onto Fusky. What he doesn't or wasn't able to do with the sniper rifle, he makes up for it with his melee weapon, because beforehand he was peeking Feila and Layla, and I'm 100% sure if Layla had Uber there, she would have probably used it, seen previous engagements and work that Fusky has put in, because he's hitting every shot right now. But we're on to the C point. It is getting kept slowly and still 40% advantage. They can push forward here.
Yes, they do have about a 20-second window to get in onto Big Roomba Layla. And they're going through Death Corridor here. The Scout gets fragged by the Stinky Trap though. Joe watching it and locking everyone out. He does get Ubered on, but he just kites it back towards the spawn. Wiethoofd's Uber not getting anything done. The call to try to catch Joe, and Joe alone, has not been fruitful, and it means that the Roomba company are going to come in onto the D point, kill Wiethoofd and clear up all these frags, holding onto this point, not giving it up for free, and they live to tell the tale as well. Fonsky though is watching the DE connector, hoping Layla to walk into his sightlines.
Litfam is on a 9k. He's zooming around the map and even getting all these high kill streaks. Those new Feila players are definitely performing, as Mong is flying forward, is soaring through the air, even winning that 1v1 there. Davey is still falling to that Wrangler, and therefore to the level 3 or level 1 sentry gun. It's going to get built up right now. Chocolate makes those body shots work. I mean, some players might complain, oh no headshot. He gets the headshot as I say that, but it doesn't matter. You want to get the frags, you want to get the area denial. Also, a defensive banner is used by Orange, staying in this little under area, and it is making it so difficult for Moro to push in.
Yes, that Battalion's backup is almost like half an Uber, just 35% damage reduction, and you can't beat headshot. It's so big for the side of the Battalion's backup, but these stickies coming in dealing so much damage, and it means that there's only 4 players up, meaning the Uber is forced, otherwise they're just going to drop the entire point just by losing everybody, and they can't defend the D and the E point simultaneously. The E point is more important, but if they lose the D point, that spawn gets locked and it makes it harder to defend, so it's a choice that they've got to make.
Old School blocks the D point from getting capped as wins the 1v1 against Jurkas, but E is all that is important right now, as Blair has a level 3 sentry gun up and it watches the normal rounds, especially under and the lobby, and it's only one last, probably one last spawn wave for Feila coming in. Losing Joe though will make it really difficult. Wata still has her Uber in the bank, and they don't really find a venue here to get into this point on the side of Feila, and Moro seal it out with just under 9 minutes. They won't be happy with that one, I gotta tell you.
No, that's not a good time for any division, but especially not Prem, where the average time is 6.5 minutes. It's going to be tough for Moro, especially after they lost that first round in 5 minutes 18 seconds. It's doable. They did lose 4 points in 2 minutes and 49 though, so if they can hold on for slightly longer, then they might stand more of a chance at defending and then taking it to a third round on this first map for CP Steel.
The real challenge that I see for Moro right now is whether or not they can react fast enough to these rotations from Feila, because this is definitely holdable and you can even hard hold B. I think they have the capabilities to do that, but to break these stalemates, it is usually best for an offensive team to play around your faster respawns, about your more flexible positions, and the fact that you can rotate very quickly, and maybe you even get a frag in all of that, and that definitely leverages you up and leverages your game to new heights, I suppose. It opens the doors quite so heavily, so we'll have to see what they can offer here. I don't want to deduct if it will be 20 seconds once again for the A point, but Fusky winning the sniper versus sniper and showing his dominion already.
Yes, we have ×6 on that first cap, and Layla is also out now. In fact, it was slightly quicker than 20 seconds, I believe. I think that was 19 seconds, so a new map record on the side of Feila eSports as they look towards E, as that's what they're trying to do. Looks like they are just going to take as much space as possible. We have Funsky actually watching towards getting the headshot onto Chocolate, I think that was, and they're barreling forward on the side of Feila eSports, locking down that connector, and Joe once again going under. This time Jerker's not there to stop him.
Number already really far up. He didn't want to peek forward, anywho. He was about half or 1/3 HP. Not really doing anything in this position right now, and it forces, or rather it enables moro to rotate back. Maybe Number is in a juicy position where he can flank them from behind, which what they don't expect, but it's a bit of a tentative play for both teams. I feel like they haven't really worked out what positions they want to be in. You see, like, Joe is getting caught off.
Yeah, I'm very surprised that moro chose to rotate off that, because they knew Joe was behind and they knew Namba was still on E, so I guess they had the call that there were people rotating, and in fact there has an Uber been popped on the B point. The gun doesn't go down though, Allskill not able to take it out. Dastron, Yorn and Mong all in the respawn queue, but it's not enough for Feila to take the B point. They will be trying to take this post. There are no Ubers in place, like Uber Charge Advantage for Layla in fact. But they're just losing so many frags that they're just going to have to get out. Layla jumping, trying to avoid Funsky's shot. Allskill taking for her, but Mong not quite getting the frag. And in fact, Feila is staying in. Like, if moro lose 2 frags, 3 frags, and Feila just take the B point for free.
If Number falls here, then they have a possibility to push back, since all these frags are falling in their favor so very juicily, but the pipes come in. Yon not reflecting that one, but getting put into eternal slumber on the reverse side. Fusky on a 5k, still controlling this forward aggression, but it seems that moro does not want to defend the first point. Or will they? I mean, Davey walks out again, like a 4th time, picks up Joe, and they're still delaying them. It looked very well unstable for like the defense, but it works apparently.
And the Uber gets forced as well. It does mean that this pretty much guarantees the point for Feila, unless the Uber comes out from moro. They are down 3 though. This could be a really bad post Uber for moro, as people are going to collapse in. Watt is going to leave, and it just does mean that Yorn once again getting an eternal slumber in the respawn queue. 18 seconds, pretty much eternal it will feel like, and Wata can't make it back into the spawn, has to run for it back into the BEC connector, doesn't make it out, and it means that this 50% on Layla is an advantage for Feila eSports as we look towards the C point.
Fusky does get sticked and therefore glued to the respawn queue, which might again open some doors again. However, Feila didn't have any reason to take this long for the B point. It really shows for moro how aggressive they are playing this to convert this entire scenario and to convert the sort of dynamic of this game, because they're trying to take this game into their own hands and trying to dictate how they want to play it, since the offensive team has 20% advantage, but they're waiting for Joe to spawn, and therefore it will equalize the things greatly onto the Uber guns.
Yeah, moro taking the game by the horns, or Layla by the bunny ears, I guess, and they come in really aggressively. They Uber in, Feila eSports taking the trade. Moro have their Uber on their heavy, which is going to be a really good post 450 health target for them to be tanking all that damage, but they lose a couple in the Uber, and it means their post fight is just worse. Feila eSports 9 up with moro losing 4, and Davies going down, Watta's going down. It's 3 up on the side of moro, 2 up, and it's just the NG and the sniper. Some 2 very high impact classes, but without anything else supporting them, and this sniper in JFK, it's not going to be easy for them to hold on to this E point, especially with the bridges just coming off after capping the C point.
I don't want to single out the same players all the time, but Fusky is literally, as he's going to get picked, finally the only one who won his 1v1 in that earlier fight, because it was all Feila. C was all ringing Feila. They're in the combo fights, on the flank fights. Right now it is also Litfarm completely out, or rather, sorry, Cannon completely outgunned. Also Number cleaning off Destron. Everything is embroidered with a Feila right now. The D point will get capped in such a nick of time by Raylan. It will be around 4 minutes for E. That's definitely doable.
it is definitely real. That's more time than they had to cap in the previous round, to about 2.5 minutes last time. So it's looking good for Feila, but it's not. They're not out of the woods yet. Moro still have 65% that they can build this Uber with. It's going to be quicker to build that Uber than cap the point, and it means that Moro is still going to be able to contest very well. They're trying to go through White Room here, spamming the point with their Soldier and their Demo, and they get 2 key frags on this Pyro and that Heavy. Means that frags are going to be coming in left, right and centre. I think somebody falling in the pit quite possibly. People getting finished off in the kill feed, and the Uber comes out on Feila trying to get this Demo Man kill, and they do. Wiethoofd dropping their Demo Man in White Room as she runs across the bridges to safety, but she gets pushed down, doesn't quite fall in the pit, but it does mean that she's on a massive rotate, and if anybody knows that she's there, she's going to be a really easy kill. And Layla, even though she's not healing, is going to have probably a Ubercharge advantage. Never mind, she doesn't heal for ages, and it means
and she gets picked!
Oh my god, what is going on? Funsky getting a frag onto Chocolate and Old School and Glutey, and it means that Moro, despite some shenanigans going on in their Ubercharge, are actually going to hold on for a bit longer.
The MVPs of that entire phase are not even real playing players, because those were only the sentry guns, Zyorka's guns away Layla, and even Stabs, Orange, so definitely getting his way onto Joe as well. We only have to cast pick classes, but I don't want this to detract from the fact that the defensive team is playing really well around their defensive positions. It's only 2 minutes, already chunked down almost 2 minutes, so definitely still doable. And Wata with the 80% advantage. Layla was walking around, getting pinned down by this sentry gun, and Wata survived through that little drop down, play. And a lot of players still jumped into the pit to make good measures for it, but Wata's going to pop a Uber.
Yep, Wata pops the Uber, trying to get frags into White Room as Feila eSports have rotated in, but they have just actually gifted an Ubercharge advantage. I say that, if you look on the screen, it's KritzKast for later. This could be very interesting. Wata goes down, so they aren't going to have any sort of heals on the side of Moro for a good chunk of this, as Layla starts to build the final bits of her KritzKast, and they do pop it straight away, but to their credit, only 2 frags are lost, but his 2 key frags, Jerkas only able to get 1 stab as well, and it means that this stack onto the point of Fort Feila eSports is gonna be deadly on the side of Moro. They need to do something quick, and it needs to be good.
Really difficult for M&M to even get back into this game and into this round. Probably going to look quite harsh for them, since they had their defensive players, especially their Heavy, onto 15-second respawner. They V-put on a 12-second respawner. All these players are falling, and the cap is so much further advanced for Feila, as they still have this 30-second round. It will be quite close, but in the end all the players are going to stack onto it, and it will be a 7 or 6 point cap time as they get it here. And they pick the map, which is sort of a convalescent measure that I'm putting into Boro. It is the map pick of Feila, but I mean, they won that 2-0. That only these like 2 numbers, 2 and 0, don't tell the entire story. That was so close. That could have gone either way, both rounds.
Yeah, it was close in both rounds, as you said. The first round, down to the wire, 5 or 6 seconds difference, and Moro could have easily taken that, and they held on valiantly in that second round for probably about 8 minutes, maybe a little bit more. And it just wasn't quite good enough. As you said, Feila picking Steel, and they certainly showed why they wanted to pick Steel. Funsky does go huge though, with 32 frags on the side, but Namba with even more, with 34. Big damage from both demos. Joe does top damage by over 100 damage, so he's absolutely destroying the server. He did end up dying more times than Davey overall though, which is quite interesting, even after that first round. But so many more kills for Feila, so much more damage overall. They did definitely deserve to win that. Moro do make it close though.
They definitely do make it close, and looking at the total numbers of frags and damage exchanged, it shows that they have something to say about this game onto Product. They pick Product. Also, one little side note, Layla didn't drop. Not sure when I saw it the last time, but I still want to point that out. And Wata dropped once. I mean, No blame onto both medics. Really good medic stats, you know, in both of those regards. And if you don't have anything else to say, then let's focus on the best map in the map pool.
As we head towards our second map of product, just starting, we have Feila eSports in the blue, moro in the red. Feila eSports up 1-0. They just need one more map win out of the next two to book their spot in Prem. Moro need to reverse sweep it as we head in. Orange is sending himself behind. Dastron is in fact on connector, so behind is completely free. Funsky going down to Orange, not protected by his heavy, as Feila eSports taking that opportunity to walk forward. No pick classes on the side of Moro to get any key frags, and it's just completely free cap for Feila eSports, taking advantage of all the space created by the soldier.
Huge number disadvantage early on onto Moro, and that forced them to stay passive there as Davey gets headshot, and there are a lot of players going forward here. Fusky also shooting down a Chocolate, and they're controlling this forward concrete area with the help of Number and with Orange, as Dastron also falling, so already putting their mark onto this product map. Yarn also going to get piped, but an Uber was forced.
Yeah, getting that force out is really good for Moro. Feila eSports with 40 seconds off the clock is good though, and the Uber is out. Bomb coming in from Davey, but he does get caught on China, and that's going to be an awful Uber for Moro. They do get the point up for it, but they just gift Feila eSports. Oh, they don't even get the point. They haven't finished the cap. They Scout on Cannon needs to be capping that out.
Like going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They are going to delay for their demo man, obviously.
Yeah, I guess that was indeed the case. But it did mean that it got a bit dicey there with the space coming back in for Feila eSports, as they do have their Ubercharge advantage still. 25% is about 10 seconds for Feila eSports to do something with it, and they're going to probably take a Demo Scout Uber across towards Caution, I imagine. Cannon going down, so there's no Scout to deal with the flank, and the Uber does come out. It is Demo Scout, it is across Caution, and Demo Joe coming in, catching Wiethoofd, taking so much damage. Wiethoofd managing to just get out by the skin of her teeth, and the headshot from Funsky cleaning up Joe is going to be really good for Moro. They're going to have better spawners and an Ubercharge advantage to boot.
Jan doing a grand job protecting Water, and the Scout Taxi was down early on as Cannon was getting bombarded off that map, but right now there was a little bit of a peek onto that cliff area by Chocolate, and they had the call there onto Moro, therefore they rotated through main and still have this 40% over advantage. And let's see if they can salvage the remainders of their players and get forward. Davey just about going to get flashed on the China area, doesn't die in this encounter. They don't even get that many frags, which is the problem. They do get the ground, however.
Yes, the Ubers have just been leapfrogging back and forth for both teams. Everyone just able to just kite out that Uber. Mong jumping in, getting rail in, and instantly coming back out. But Layla with her Ubercharge advantage coming in. Joanne on China trying to catch people. The Scout does go down. Yawn on the Pirate is also weak, manages to get caught. Water in main is so weak, does manage to get saved by her team, but 6 frags for Feila and the cap. That's a pretty successful Uber if you ask me.
Brilliant positioning, however, from Wata. She was dancing about, she was showing her mechanics and her game sense, and therefore keeps alive. Unfortunately, however, a lot of players fall down around that and trying to protect her, and you can see how diametrically even these Uber encounters are shared. Both teams are using onto the Demoman, onto the Scout, obviously, but Feila just have a lot of more players into prolific situations where they can push forward, and therefore that causes a lot more damage onto the side of Moro than they have been able to do in the reverse leg, as Orange is going to fall down there to a Tomislav of all things, and it is 1 minute disadvantage on the side of Moro, but they're still getting the frags right here, and it will be an Uber percentage fight afterwards.
Yes, so in the end there, they did manage to kill the sniper before pushing. Nice backstab from Jerkas allowed them to actually just take the point for free there. And the Ubers is coming out from Moro, using it very early, and the Uber is a lot better, in fact, from the side of Feila. And the sniper is going to be a huge frag for the post fight, and it means that the cap is actually just going to come out for free for Feila eSports. So in a bad position, they actually managed to scramble out a good trade and they have to cap back once again. The Uber is not going to come up for Wiethoofd in time, most likely. 30 seconds is about 75%. She has to build perfectly for the next 30 seconds, otherwise there's no Uber in play for her.
They can dry fight this, however, as they fought Orange off, and she has a 50%. Layla even falling in that entire encounter. Raylan still in behind. He needs to be the playmaker right now, as moro is capping this, but Water is spotting the enemy spy and keeps herself alive. Raylan also going to get gunned away, but they still have to keep this point on the side of moro. Doing great job with their combo. I really have to point that out. Spreading the damage onto the enemy team equally and trying to rotate their own players out. But yeah, I mean, KritzKast right now used on this side of Layla.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Jerkas manages to spot it this time. We have 75% KritzKast, full Uber charge advantage. You have enough time to instantly use this crits, force that Uber, and you'll have a crits back for the fight on the point in the last seconds of the round. So it's looking good for Feila eSports if they can just get this crits out, maybe get a couple of frags and start to pressure the point.
Crits will be imminent as I'm looking at both medics, but there's a huge distraction jump right now from Orange. The crits doesn't have to be used very early on, and it's still in store as it is only 35 seconds to go. But KritzKast is going to get used right now, and it is not going to get shot out of proportion as Water was completely on on the hunt and on the lookout for that KritzKast and was not getting surprised by that. However, right now the KritzKast advantage is in play, and they only have to cull this aggression right now from Feila, I think, and moro should look in good shape.
Yeah, it was really interesting they took so long to use that KritzKast. I think they should have just used it pretty much straight away, but it looks like they're not going to get punished. They have enough people on the point. I say that, but moro blasting forward onto the point, and this KritzKast is not going to get up in time, and there's 14 seconds left on the clock. Everybody's spawners are so slow, and it means that moro, all they have to do is tank their heavy on the point, have stickies on the edge, and they're actually going to win this round in a round. You would have thought it was Feila's to win.
Layla also going to get flanked about from Mong from behind, and therefore in the overtime they made it even caught up on that crits, but never mind, as 1-0 instantly it flips into both overtime for both teams, and then therefore in the favor of moro. Definitely deserved. Played perfectly around their advantages, around their position, and around their resources that they still had available, because they exchanged combo members when they got weak, then the other combo members got healed up, and eventually they even got Cannon and Mong onto that point and kept it alive, and then all the players came in. But we're looking at another mid-fight here.
Yeah, once again, Orange coming behind, and Dastron gets fragged in connector as well. So this frag onto Orange, bringing 3 players back for him. It does mean that all this space is for free. Once again, the no heavy on Cliff is playing out perfectly for Feila eSports. They win the mid completely for free, once again, because there's just no heavy to contest Orange behind.
Number is weak a little bit. It was an early cap for Feila. Layla has swapped back to the normal Uber Medigun, and they still have this 50% advantage. Let's see if they can make it work, as Water is safe right now for the time being. The Joe zone apparently not enabled at this current state. Davy, however, falling, and therefore that leads to a sizable advantage in the time stakes on the side of Feila.
Yeah, we have 30 seconds advantage and counting for Feila eSports, so a good start to the round, but they have Uber charge advantage as it is used across the point. A demo scout chase Uber, trying to get onto the medic, but they don't manage to catch her, and it is a 40% advantage for Feila eSports and a 48-second advantage on the clock as well. So a healthy start to the round. They'll be coming in fairly soon. They have about 20 seconds to build this Uber before they'll be able to get in, but they're actually just coming forward, not fearing the side of moro because there is no demo, but there is no pyro to protect Layla, and it means that Mong is just in for free, gets 3 rockets onto Layla, and that's the Uber advantage completely gone for Feila. They managed to get a lot of cap time. They are going to delay for their players, and it means that Wiethoofd has a nice 50% Uber charge advantage in this situation. Feila eSports still looking okay on time though.
Both soldiers always on the buoyant when their respective medic dies and jump the enemy medic. Water, however, lives, and Layla was not living when Mang bombed him. However, I have to call out that Davy was complaining about a leg spike in main, but he also had no support, and therefore he fell down to a mini sentry of all things, which enabled Feila early on to cap this point, and they're still having this point on lockdown. Water does survive, but Davy and Blair a little bit lonesome right now in the main area. Otsko still flaring about, and it making a meal out of that fight in the main area as Water's going to use.
Yes, and Uber comes across yet another demo scout Uber, but people are just so far out when they use. It means that no one can ever be caught. These Ubers are just leapfrogged every single time. moro managed to get the cap, but it's a full Ubercharge advantage for Feila eSports and time advantage. The Uber does come in, they get frags onto a couple of the players, and that's enough to retake the point, I imagine. The heavy on concrete is also free. Monk getting a huge frag onto Layla with a skip jump coming in, and it means that although Feila eSports with lots of cap, they're not actually cap time, they're not actually being able to finish it off, and moro hang on with an Ubercharge advantage. The cap time is ticking down for them, and Feila eSports need to come up with something quick.
Joe was annihilating with lock and load, however, they weren't able to cap that point on the back of it right now. Old School is getting weak, finally they're going to cap it. Raylan comes in huge! Guns down water, so right now there is a window open maybe for a suicide wave. We see if moro want to get onto Layla, she doesn't have, therefore you have to kill her, as in a post you only have to make a medic scared when he has Uber. Jerkas is trying to sneak through, so we'll see how those next fights ring out here. I feel like they just want to take this try.
Yes, they do. They know that although they have Ubercharge disadvantage, it's not full Ubercharge for Layla yet, and they have 3 frags advantage at the start of that fight.
The free
but
flag!
Oh my god, the massive reflect from Yawn, getting 2 massive frags. Layla is one of them, and his Ubercharge advantage back in favor of moro. The time is firmly in favor of Feila. They're just blocking the point for some extra seconds off the clock, and it does mean with 33 seconds left on the clock for Feila eSports and 1 minute 45, Feila eSports are still in contention, and in fact probably leading this round, even though they have a massive Ubercharge disadvantage.
Jan saved the round there, or at least 1 minute for his own team, as I'm just picturing him being, yarning around, because it was so easy to just get this reflect and gets a pivotal medic frag in that situation. Therefore, Wata still has this Uber advantage. Do they want to plow forward here? Yes, they do. However, Feila do have the early eyes onto that, and they don't even lose all that many players. Number is going to get fought away by Cannon. Cannoning him down on that little side flank. Old School still in the main area. Fusky, however, developing his reign on that little crate spot. They didn't really get a lot of players down, but the crit streak is still a factor that you have to count in, because Layla switched to that.
Yes, Layla loving the crits. Maybe Joe is as well this game, as they have crits advantage because of it. Feila eSports time is about to be equalized as they come in onto the point, trying to stop that from happening. moro just all the way out. Even though they're all 9 up versus 7 on the side of Feila, Funsky going down with a huge stab from Raylan, and it means that the crits advantage is going to be huge. The crit sticky comes in, Yawn and Blair go down. We have Davey going down as well, Cannon as well, and it means the Wata is going to get caught by a massive crit lock and load. Never mind, I was going to say she's safe with a hint of a hope for moro in her hands, and Joe snatches it out, and the round goes to Feila eSports, leveling it up on this second map. What
an absolute miraculous sideline. That pipe, I don't know, like, I wouldn't want Joe to check my plumbings, like, I don't know, man, like, that was absolutely crazy, sorry. I mean, we're tied on points right now. It is 1-1. moro looked so well there, definitely after the reflect from Yarn, but in the end they played so passive when Feila plowed forward, even though they still had the number advantage, and it made them, be passive and therefore lose the point. And then this miraculous pipe definitely just was the nail in the coffin, as we are looking at the third mid-fight.
Yes, and Orange once again going behind. This time does actually get caught by the team. Joe is the only person actually contesting the point for Feila, as moro plow forward through connector or cross caution and the point, and it means that he's going to get caught, get fragged, and the mid this time goes to moro, finally adapting to this bomb behind from Orange, allowing the heavy to play connector and actually get value.
Layla is back on the Uber gun, a little bit of an advantage onto Wata. She will probably not make all that much out of it, since being put in a passive situation here. More, they're still waiting for this onslaught of Feila, as there will be a fair and square Uber trade, I'll imagine. Still losing Litfam though, so no scout in this Uber. Maybe that's a bit of a doom sign for the side of Feila, as they're getting some easy cap time right now, but Joe is down, so contestation available for moro.
Yeah, losing Litfam made them not want to push because they want to do a demo scout, and then losing Joe, obviously you can't do a demo scout if you're down, and a demo, but here we go. The trade comes out. They do lose 2 during the trade though, and it means that it's 9 versus 7 post Uber. It's going to be better for moro and Feila just have to back out with the tail between their legs as they heal up before coming back in. They got lots of time on the cap point, but it is 1 minute off the clock already for moro, an equal Uber charge basically situation. Never mind, Layla has 15% because she's been winning way better than Wiethoofd this round so far, and it means that although 1 minute 11 off the clock for moro is good, Feila have the point and an Uber shot advantage to boot.
The damage is going to help, however, and lead to an advantage of moro as their health was way better, and therefore they recognize that they walked forward. Raylan, however, does step Fusky away from those patented trades, gets ultimately culled by Mong on that little concrete area, and Layla still has this little bit of Uber advantage. It did not detract from the fact that moro read that that have advantage perfectly, and therefore they just plowed forward, and Layla was so scared as she gets piped down to single digit HP, and it forces the Uber early.
Yeah, and that's a perfect kite from moro as well. They have full Uber charge advantage, which they're going to use, but the demo man gets popped back. He's going to get absolutely denied by everything. Does manage to get Joe with a nice pipe on concrete, but although they're going to get the cap, Layla does survive, so again a hint of a hope for Feila in this round, but moro in the driving seat with players up equal Uber almost, and a massive time advantage while holding the point. It's looking huge round for moro to take it to 2-1.
A quick glance onto what has worked for both teams so far, and we see a little bit Uber advantage for Layla, but that doesn't tell the whole story because moro is still in the advantage on times. However, Davy does get stabbed right now, so it will be very difficult. However, Cannon walks forward. Joe was completely alone. Fusky then afterwards finishes off on kill on Joe with a body shot. Chocolate getting those patented, body shots, but he gets a headshot as well. So reserve those for the medics, and water falling down. Full Uber advantage right now for Layla.
Yes, this Uber charge advantage is going to be very valuable for Layla here, but she gets forced by a jump in from Mong, and it means that this Uber charge advantage has completely dissipated, but doesn't really shift. Oh my god, he's hiding on the concrete and does manage to get Joe, which is going to really help moro's cause. It stops Feila from just plowing forward completely for free. The Uber charge advantage has been completely equalized by Layla, though she's building a lot better than Wiethoofd this round. It's really interesting that in the round that Wiethoofd has not been building Uber very well, that moro are completely stomping Feila.
The red squad, however, is so much in the advantage here, honestly. Still shooting some trouble up, and they're unleashing the chaos theory. They're thriving in the pandemonium as a lot of players are hiding, and there's so much action always that some people are maybe old and they have to catch their breath.
Mon getting fragged by Number, and Dastron going down as well before he's cleaned up, as we head in with an Uber charge for Feila eSports, and the Uber is so much better for moro. Wiethoofd's Uber is going to last 5 seconds longer as they get chased across the point, and it means that although Feila eSports have the point, moro are going to start contesting almost instantly as they flood in with their players. Their scout, the heavy walking across caution. It's all down to Joe at this point pretty much, as he's one of the only 3 players left alive.
However, Davy definitely makes the most out of his connection right now. Even if it is mobile, he is so mobile himself on this game and flexible. He pipes away everyone. They're still delaying this cap for a little bit for some players to spawn. Only Yerkas on a 3-second respawner, and Number up for the grabs, up for the stabs from Yerkas, dropping down from this little cliff area. Instant kill and skill mechanic is going to clean that combo member out of the fight, and therefore he's still on a respawner. Even an Uber advantage for Water.
Yeah, and we even have just 2 seconds left on the clock as Feila get onto that point, but because they're all on the point, the Uber and the crushing damage from all of the players outside of moro, it's just going to be enough to kill them all, get the round finished up, and it's 2-1 to moro. Joe calling the pause as we suspected. I imagine he was shouting at his players, but here we go into the next round. Moro only need 1 more round to take it to Vigil. Feila eSports need 2 rounds to take themselves to Prem.
rumors has it that the players on Joe's team don't even have mumble. They can still hear him like IRL screaming so loud and dictating the game so far. And as we saw ice skating players due to the pause performing, we also saw a perfect Uber exchange once again on the side of Water is Orange somehow picks up Jurkas while jumping through and jumping over this little rock, and also Davey falling to this orange position. Therefore, Water probably has to leave since superior position and damage output on the side of Feila due to Orange's big bomb.
Yeah, once again I'm gonna say it, Dastron on concrete instead of Cliff is just leaving Orange to absolutely tear Moro a new one as he gets 3 frags on that mid, single-handedly winning them the mid. I don't know why they haven't moved the heavy back towards Cliff here.
We'll see in a second, however. Maybe they do adapt because this is the quality of a Premiership team, but Davey, however, does get popped Uber onto him because they had to respond in kind and pop there. It will not eventually lead to all that much since the players only now spawn on the side of Moro. So Feila once again are in the dictating mood. Layla bit out of position, or rather had to get the health pack because she was weak, and therefore that could have enabled Moro. However, they lose some players, but Jurkas is onto the hunt. Once again, number falls down. It's 1 minute already in the favor of Feila, however.
Yeah, training that Uber worked out very well for Feila. It stopped Moro from being able to push forward. Training that Uber means that it's got 40 seconds. And once again, Layla building 10% better already than Water. I just don't know what is going on the side of Moro, but like Water wasn't beaming for 3 seconds there. Something is going wrong for them in their combo, and it means that the Ubercharge advantage is constantly with Feila eSports.
Orange is causing so many headaches, and Layla even falls down by Mong. Once again flying in, afterwards getting cleaned out of the air there by a fully charged body shot. Didn't matter, however, he already has done the damage. Chocolate has more bullets for everyone, however, in this game. Yarn falling down consequently. And what I wanted to point out again, I mean, Destron were finally moving onto that cliffside. Orange did so much, and Fusky was so confused by this pesky soldier was still behind because he was caught. He's doing that again.
Raylan getting the stab on Dastron, and it just means that Orange on China is going to be free for them. The Uber's forced out, and they cap through it anyway. And what I was going to say is that it doesn't matter whether you are building quicker if the Romanian Batman is killing your medic anyway, but if you're managing to force the Ubers out and just cap the point for free, is the Uber going to do anything anyway?
Moro, however, I'm going to treat that as a rhetorical question, as they're going to bombard once again onto that point, cap it out on the side of Moro, only Yarn on a 3-second respawner. However, Layla having that Uber advantage, so embark on a new adventure of one team has Uber, the other one is catching up, so we'll try to play around these defensive positions. I don't see Destron, he's definitely not on the cliff, so we'll probably have to watch out for another orange jump as they're taking their sweet time here. Chocolate really weak, but Layla and Feila are taking their sweet time.
Yeah, what they want to do is probably send Orange behind as they take in that Uber charge, and they take Orange into the combo. Water taking 0 damage, and Joe, because he went down, it just meant that sack is for nothing as they try to get in onto the combo. Mong is behind as well, and there's only 4 up for Feila eSports, and the time is almost equalized. And the Uber's gonna come in. They're trading in a 4 versus 7 situation. I don't exactly know what's going on. They get 1 frag in the Uber charge. Mong is at the bottom of cliff, getting 2 frags. Old School and Joe just go down. The reflectivity is obviously not in Old School's power for those 5 seconds where Mong is behind, and it just means that Feila eSports, starting out with a massive time advantage in the round, now equalized, and Moro in the command of the round.
The soldiers are the dictating force of this game so far. Orange is going to leap onto that keyword forward once again. Jurkas, however, does get the stab, and Yarn finally protects, or I mean, with a final air blast protects Water right there. Destron coming in with the 3k. Everything is working for them right now. They're completely vibing together and have the same note sheet to sing off from, because Water right now lives 70%, 50% advantage. We're able to completely control Orange, and on the other hand, where we saw the Uber fight before, Layla got completely forced because Mong was behind. They just lost a lot of players, didn't know what to do. Orange is in again. I feel like I have the same Dia show. Can these players do a different place? But it's working for Moro still.
Yeah, and the Uber coming out. The cap does come out for Feila, though. Moro getting 0 frags without Uber. Never mind, they get 3 as I say that. And it does mean that it's going to work out for them. As Feila eSports going to have slower spawns, and that's 2 key frags on the side of Joe and Old School down orange now. He's been doing so much work, but he can't while he's in the spawn queue, and it means that even without Davey, Moro are going to be able to do so much, and that's especially true if Funsky keeps sniping Layla.
Especially if he snipes her down on 97%, that could have been the key difference in Feila salvaging this round, or Moro saying, we picked this map and this map is 100% ours. I mean, technically all the maps that we're playing tonight are ours, but this one especially as Chocolate is still peeking from this cliff area. Orange once again as 90% of the game he is on that rock area trying to fling forward as Joe once again bombards forward with the damage. Will it be enough, however, to deter Moro from walking forward? They already get some frags down. Wata dying!
Orange once again saving the day as he gets the Wata frag, but Layla goes down as well and they cap it up, which means that they delay everybody on the side of Feila, and I think that's going to be curtains. The spawns coming in for Moro, and it's a 3 health Clutie and a 79 health Litfam versus the entirety of Moro, and they only have to cap.
Joe is trying to fly in right now and ruin his locks as he's probably going to get cleaned up. There we go. Orange also falling 3-0 on the side and in the advantage of Moro, tying it up in terms of maps 1-1.
Indeed, the logs are actually very interesting. Dastron playing on the concrete, letting Orange just free roam and getting frags on China, but it turns out getting 28 frags on your heavy is still pretty good, so I guess it worked out for them. Funsky top fragging with 34 overall, however. Joe, 615 DPM and still not enough. I'm imagining there's quite a loud Feila mumble as we speak. Raylan definitely not the problem though with 24 frags of their own. Wasa with 4 deaths. Layla with 11, and that's not what you like to see on the side if you're a Feila fan. We're underway.
It's all on the line for both teams. Depends how their plans are looking. I mean, obviously both teams want to play in the Premiership division, but I also like to see the loser maybe playing in Div 1 and not just Fort, which is sometimes what can happen, but we're not there yet because it will be the deciding map and that decides the entire next season for one of those well, basically for both of these teams. But Water is kind of for what? No sticky or rather crit sticky traps at this current state and not really sure what to expect here. I mean, the first point is completely given up for free and no team really does contest this, so it really depends whether or not Feila are instantly tunnel pushing or something to throw Moro off.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the strategies are. We have Mong, we have him, I think he's edge bugging to try to spam into the spawn. He'll spam 4 rockets and then drop down, trying to get some early damage for the battalion's backup, see how much percentage he can gain there. Clutie going down, so that's cart pushing. Mong getting 0% off his little trick. Unfortunately for him, no, he gets 7, he gets 1 rocket. Absolutely going to make the difference as we head into this first round.
So those 4 hours practicing that were totally worth it.
Exactly. If it gets him into Prem, it's entirely worth it. But Dastron going down to a snipe from Chocolate from the window on the flank, and it does mean that that tunnel is wide open. Might see an orange bomb through into the tunnel to go behind. That's indeed exactly what he's trying to do, but the gun is actually going to catch him there. Jerka's getting caught early, which means that there's no spy comms on the side of Moro, and it does mean that all this time on cart they can't do much about. As you said, Domaytoe, Moro just giving it up. You do want to see a quick time for Feila eSports. That's 50 seconds. That's not too bad. I think it's about 35 or 40 if you just times through it all the way. So it's a pretty good time for Feila eSports, and Moro setting up on second.
Raylan still sneaking around. He crossed 30 seconds ago to that position there in the backlines, and they weren't coordinated enough to maybe do something with the suicide wave. They're going to take a fair, square and honest Uber push through the tunnel area, as it was a little bit highlighted early for Moro because Joe was peeking before the Uber was popped onto him. But Orange takes this shed roof position, however, does get cannoned away and bombarded off that shed roof, and it has stabilized for the moment.
exactly what I thought they might do. Use the Uber through main tunnel and recontest from the height, and Cho goes down instantly. Raylan getting a snap onto Blair though, and a snap onto the gun. It is only level 1, but it is unsapped by Yawn. Raylan managing to survive as well. Orange going deep, killing the sentry gun as Feila come over the hill. The battalion's back up from Mong has faded, but it's long enough to get kills onto Layla, and the rest of the combo. It's looking good for moro on this first proper defensive point.
This banner was so pivotal to win this comprehensively, this fight, and it was also used perfectly, like timed. Can definitely show what Soldier is has Prem experience. Also getting spammed there a little bit forward as Monk falls down. Davey getting absolutely reflected into bits. That's an old school pyro reflect, and the force comes out onto Water. Only 40% on the side of Layla, so not the worst thing in the world onto Water, since they have to play around the fact that they still have some players on the respawn, but Layla and Feila are so hungry here, they don't even want to wait for their Uber.
Yeah, they're taking that advantage with Davey not being able to deny them the hill space because he's in the respawn queue, and it does mean they're rushing over that hill. Lots of cart time. Layla with Ubercharge advantage as well. It means that moro just backing out to the third point. And Layla with 50% Ubercharge advantage and 5 down on the side, 6 down on the side of moro, my bad. Now the Jerkus is in the respawn queue as well, means that Feila eSports is going to come forward nice and quickly here. Dastron has been spotted on the side, and he's going to get used on, get fragged out, and the sentry gun is going to probably perish as Feila eSports try to hold this combo out from moro.
Should be definitely fine for the defense. You gotta worry about the fact that they're probably not going to get out unless they get some frags, and they do. Fusky delivers, wins the 1v1 against a Chocolate, and also Old School does fall down, and therefore Joe is a little bit passive right now. They had some time to play on this card. Still piping forward. Jan was a bit distracted by players in from behind. Water uses onto Destron. That was definitely a hiccup in the communication, and well, yeah.
Yeah, they managed to save the point for now, but that Uber is going to be absolutely useless in actually stopping the cart in the long run. Cart is not quite up, and it actually, I mean, I say it was useless, but it managed to hold by millimeters, I imagine. That's incredible. Feila should have been able to come back in on that, but they do still have Ubercharge advantage, so it's not over for them on this push. There's no Dastron to win this fight in the post. He's just going to come up now, in fact. So Feila playing actually quite slowly, not as aggressive as they usually do. There's a triple flash coming in on the Uber here, as they are pushing up the cart. They do get the cart up the hill. It is going to get capped out.
Meat grinder.
No, not quite. Dastron getting fragged. We do get it. Orange jumping onto the cart. Literally everybody dead apart from Layla.
Oh.
Never mind, Layla dies at the end anyway. KritzKast getting the revolver down. It does mean full Ubercharge advantage for the side of moro, but they are forced back to the last point. Not the end of the world for Feila eSports. 4:34 time for 3 points isn't great. It's not awful, but it is not great.
They sacrificed all their lives for this card, as it is maybe an ideal, well, just walking forward for this card, and therefore they were able to cap it even though everyone died. It was a full wipe on the Feila side. However, what we saw before there was that moro were able to get out of this defensive position. They have 100%, 60% right now though on Layla, because she died and she's able to use KritzKast once again. So let's see how the KritzKast factor enables them, as I think they're even going to get caught out.
Wow, Layla getting caught with that Uber. A nice aggressive Uber from the side of moro. I was about to talk about Wax Lyrical, about how we had a bit of a nice KritzKast on the side of Twice in the previous game against moro, I think it was, but nope, not to be. They are going to have to rebuild this KritzKast. They have stayed on it. They are already in advantage against the Ubercharge here, so they will be getting it before Wata will get her Uber. Joe N going down, however, and a 60% KritzKast means that they're going to get crits just as Joe arrives, so there's not going to be much time to get this crits in, and the battalion's backup has been popped too early. I would have definitely saved that for the KritzKast. A bit of a misplay by Mong there, I imagine. Joe is here, the crits coming out. Wata's on 87%.
She gets caught.
Crits are coming in. Layla gets sniped, and that's the end. That's all she wrote. Litfan with the ... in chat. and Water with full Ubercharge advantage, just sitting in the dispenser, nice and cozy, nothing can touch her.
That is quite literally what she wrote as she falls down right now and switches back to the Uber gun. Water was a bit pinned in a precarious situation, and it was quite a dangerous situation for both teams because for moro because they were staying so far forward in this room as Railing comes in, doesn't really get any subsequential damage onto Water, however gets Mong because people don't care to even come the spy that is already found out, and Joe is early on pressure, therefore can't really pressure forward anymore, but they were not expecting the outside area push, and once again this aggressive push comes in.
Yes, and the push is coming in. Not quite getting the frag onto the medic, gifting an Ubercharge advantage for Feila eSports, but at least they don't lose their medic in the process. On an Ubercharge disadvantage, you'll generally see the defensive sides rotate to the right-hand side of the map towards Cafe and try to play on the high ground from there. So it'll be interesting to see if that is their plan. As Feila come in,
but
there's 3 stabs from KritzKast and a revolver. KritzKast going absolutely huge this game.
He's saving his team. He's the embodiment of a lifeline for them, as he's going to munch them all up and devour his logs. Davey, however, saying, I have a 7k as well as maybe my ping was high before. It seems to have normalized so far, but my points are even higher if I put my mind to it. Number still outside, little Uber advantage once again to moro. Let's see if they want to have another pivotal push out. Fusky on an 8k. Those players are performing when they're put into tough situations.
Yeah, these pick classes have been performing on all 3 maps for moro. Pick classes this map slightly quiet. Raylan actually top scoring the team, never mind, but Chocolate nowhere to be found as Layla gets stabbed by KritzKast once again. Watt is on a 10k, Davies on a 9k, and it's just absolute destruction of Feila. Moro completely in the driving seat with a current time of about 9 minutes on the clock. It's a bad time already, and it's only going to get worse as moro look to extend this time for them to be pushing him.
Perfect pincer movement was a bit of a proxy for what their success story was early on, as Fusky's on a 9k, and they're realizing this Uber advantage right now. They don't have this Uber advantage anymore, but the pick classes are still the proxies for their success as KritzKast comes in. He's on a 5k. Fusky did fall down to a relatively long respawn queue. Chocolate also sniping away Yarn, and it is really about this gun which is getting spammed so far. Blair losing his little metal companion, and Davey still spamming about, but no Uber into play, which means all the players are going to walk forward. Wata finally gets it.
Yeah, Wata using that Uber straight away. Layla now using her Uber back in. Joe N coming in with the big old bomb. Not quite catching Wata, who's 25 health in the spawn, but because everybody is so far back, everybody's now on the car for Feila eSports, and it's a 9-minute 39-second time. It's a very bad time for Feila. It's holdable, but it's not what you want to see if you're a Feila fan.
Time to pop the bottles and get some, not booze out, but other liquids I would propose, since it's looking so well for moro right now. They should be ready to party, since this game is, or rather this round is theirs to lose, and therefore there's still a lot of work that they need to put in, but it is on to Feila. They are on the back foot. They have lost the previous map, and if you believe in dynamics and sort of game sense and stuff like that, then it is in the court for moro right now, since Feila have lost so much, and it has been ages since they won a round. Therefore, it's all smelling moro once again.
Yeah, moro definitely got the supposed momentum that you may have after winning 3 rounds on the trot. And Feila have got to be feeling slightly bad. Maybe there's a bit of tilt going on with this 9-minute 39 time. But tilt has never stopped Joe N from winning games.
It enables him.
Indeed it does. He just gets stronger and stronger. That lock and load coming in, not quite catching Eddie on cart, as we have KritzKast coming up on the flank on the spy. The flank of Orange and Litfam not aware, as Davey and the rest of his combo, including the sniper, coming in on the flank, trying to create all the space. Raylan goes down to Mong somehow before a couple of frags caught out, but Funsky, all that space created for him, has enabled him to kill the Demo Man. And Layla and Co have literally just left the point entirely for free.
Beautiful protective work from Old School, however, Orange gets piped. The problem for Old School was he can't reflect bullets away, and therefore his team dropped around him to a sniper sideline. However, he did deny Monk flying in forward. Jurkas right now does get a chocolate, therefore that enables the entire team. And if you've ever listened to Kate Bush, you'd be running up that hill right now as Water is already eyeing it forward, and they're walking here. The Spicycle gets found out. No team has popped Uber so far, but it is tentative.
I cannot believe the references that you come up with. You're gonna kill me. But indeed, all those frags going Feila's way do stifle the push, but the Uber's not popped. It does mean that moro have another chance at this. It looks like they're pressuring in through tunnel, going for the Feila eSports push maybe? No, they're going back towards hill, a more standard old school hill push as they look to take the exchange. And here we go, the Ubers are traded out, snipers are both dead. The Uber is so much better for the Feila eSports side though, as there's no Pyro or Soldier in the post for Moro. They do lose Namba though, Clutie's 1 health, and it looks like Feila are actually crumbling in this post. They do manage to hold on for dear life, but the Demo Man and Co coming back up the hill, Raylan getting caught, no stabs for him, and it means that everybody can now look forward, looking towards Joe, and all that damage raining up on him, forcing him back into the shut, and all the space is Moro's.
So much reflective work done by Old School, however can't deny everything, and Fusky also still peeking from this top, which signals Moro to cut their losses and get out of there. It is sorry for Layla and Feila to cut their losses and get out of there, as it is equal Uber percentages so far, but what we've really seen is that this entire point was enabled by this dry aggression that you'd expect usually from Feila, but right now Moro is making it work with it. It's Davy already through this little side area. They have Uber and they popped it.
Yeah, the trade has come out from both Feila and Moro. Once again, looking better for Feila, but we know how that ended on second as Moro is still pushing the cart. Mon coming in, manages to get 2 rockets onto Layla, even though he gets absolutely denied by the sentry gun. That's unbelievable. Old School needs to be reflecting those. That's so pivotal for Moro getting that medic frag there, and they lose Joe and Old School in the post because of it. It's going to be a nice 55% Ubercharge advantage for Water, and a full wipe almost as we go towards last here.
Feila is completely outgunned. Also, Layla died early in that encounter, and therefore she only spawns now. Also has a sizable Uber disadvantage of over 70%, and therefore the consequence of that, they lost out on the fight that was defined by damage and therefore heals, and they didn't have the heals on the defensive route anymore. Raiden trying to salvage things, but it was to no avail. However, finally, they're once again realizing what worked for them on the side of Moro. They're staying so far forward. Yarn maybe overstepping his boundaries there a little bit, but they have this Uber advantage. They're going to use it on the side flank.
Yes, here we go. The Uber is in, but unfortunately nothing really coming for it, as we do have space on the side of Moro, but everybody is basically still up, including an Ubercharge advantage for Feila, and it means they hold on for now. 5 minutes 30 left on the clock. Funsky is going to be peeking in through main, trying to find something juicy like a medic frag, but does get the sentry gun. Still a nice use of his sniper rifle, taking that out, preventing Clutie from having a level 2 by this point. Jurkas caught, not quite able to find anything. Does survive with his life, but it's pretty much just a full reset from both teams here.
Suicide Wave is going to ring in right now as Water was gunned out and away in the post fight. However, Namba does fall, Joe as well, so they get 2 combo members down, lose players, but that should be still influential in that sense that they didn't force Layla, but the combo members are down, so you can try to get in through a nuke and a granny and sneak in, but there is no follow-up aggression, so they're banking onto this next Uber exchange apparently.
Indeed, they are equal Ubers pretty much. Fonsky going down, so it's not going to be good for the post for Moro if they take this in. They could wait for the sniper, but they aren't going to. It's going to be a nice exchange. Both people weak in Feila eSports. Actually, just tanking that heavy with the solo. Joe actually falling back, which is really, really smart. Gathering an arrow now, coming back in with all those heals on that heavy. Does manage to win that heavy 1v1 with a nice clutch arrow from Layla, tanking him. And it means that Layla and Feila managed to hold on once again. Now only 4 minutes left on the clock.
I wanted to be a scryer and look into my crystal ball, and I thought they would rotate to the grass area, but they are relentless, keeping this pressure up on this tracks area, and no one is going to give the other team ground for free, as Davy falling, however, to Litfam and Number getting sniped away. Therefore, the number advantage is slowly shifting in the favor of moro, because faster spawns, Number still down, and the Mong falling. So again, another Uber exchange. Let's see where they want to take this.
Indeed. Watt actually had about a 10% advantage at one point, but again, Layla just able to build that Uber so much faster for some reason. Not even sure, it's usually a defensive Uber that builds slower, but it doesn't matter, the Ubers are traded here. Chocolate goes down to Funsky, but Funsky dies to Raylan, so no snipers in the post here. We've got no battalions backup either, as we just trade lots of players on each side. Mong is in, doesn't find anything. Watter dies in the post as Mong gets crit by the Frontier Justice, and so does Dastron. It's huge kills coming out from Clutie, as it's just Watter and Jerkas alive. Watter's in the spawn room. Layla surviving once more with a nice 20% Ubercharge advantage, and it's only 2.5 minutes left on the clock now.
Raylan is going to wave goodbye to Mong as he stabs him in the side, or rather in his back. Definitely a server side wise. If we had damage numbers available on both of all these now players, we would have probably have seen like 10,000 damage going on, because this is sometimes what Highlander is. All these projectiles. Again, this fight, however, probably favors the offensive team, because again, faster spawns, big headshot onto Joe, and the card is already up this little ramp where it rolls down if it isn't up that way. So that just card pushing progress of this flank was so pivotal, and they're going to work it off easily. Layla had no players anymore to heal, and that entire fight was defined and won by the earlier progress that we saw on the card, and they made full advantage out of that.
Yeah, they managed to get that cut up the hill during one of the Ubers or posts, not quite sure, probably a combination of the two, and it became pivotal as they just kept resetting that cart timer, making sure that it wasn't rolling down the hill. Ended up winning the round for them as they just flooded in at the end with their better spawners.
As we're going into the second round of the third map in our best of 3 format, and you see Highlander can be quite long, even if it's not a grand final, but it's a lower final. It is a little, you know, it's the alpha final for both of these teams essentially. Feila on the defense, moro on the offense. Let's go.
Yes, once again, repeat of what we have just seen. We got to have Feila eSports. I think they'll be aiming for a defense of about the same caliber, if not obviously slightly better. You always want to better yourself, but I think a 7.5 minute time should be good enough for them to push. Joe probably won't be disheartened by the defense. It's just that last push that absolutely destroyed their offensive push last time. So I imagine he is only chatting about changing up things on the offense for the most part. One or two things on the defense, of course, can improve, but just got to keep an eye on what we see in this first round as we head into the moro offense on the blue side. Got a bit of battalions back up. See, that's what you do, Mong. Spam that left-hand side door. You get 31%. Don't need to do any funny, and don't need any funny wall bugs as we head into the first little bit.
Davy is the first casualty of this second round on our third map, as he loses his head quite literally and metaphorically, being taken away from a chocolate. Playing that vanilla loadout apparently in Highlander these days, even with a little backup, can be healed, can be buffed, can easily be backstabbed, however, and this first point again, nothing to see around here. No team really getting into the positions that they want to be in, or the offensive team rather. Cannon also going to get absolutely shot apart, and that inhibits this card to get pushed as optimally as it could be, and therefore that saves like 5 to 10 seconds, even more. Fusky falling down. Chocolate is keeping his team in this first point, however.
Yeah, if you can get that, if you can get that sniper down, it's really strong. But a force coming out onto Layla. Not exactly sure. It looks like Mong got the force. He probably went in through tunnel, because Namba doesn't play tunnel. He plays on the flank, and in the game versus twice, that is exactly what happened every single round. Namba just not able to cover tunnel, and it meant that the medic of Layla gets forced or dropped every single time if he does that, and once again the prophecy continues. We got 1 minute 22, which is a good defensive time for Vigil first, but without having your sniper up, it's going to be tough. The Uber does come out, and it means that this trade, or not even a trade, sorry, because there is no Uber to happen for the red team, is going to be in favour for moro, but the post is not looking good for them. Davey going down, and damage coming in from the bomb from orange means that this Uber and battalions are now up. The push coming in, retaking hill, Raylan going down, there's no comms now, so they're pushing the cart, but it's not very good. They are going to get pushed back, and it means it's going to be a full reset for moro, while the Ubercharge advantage is in favour of Layla.
Feila have fully soaked this aggression up, and right now though comes a big bong from Mong, but he however blows himself up there because there were a lot of bodies between Layla. However, she does use right now, and it is a force after all.
They're pushing the cart. Oh, not quite able to get the full cap, but making it that close is going to be really difficult. And in fact, just because everybody had to go back for the cart to stop it being capped meant that they dropped 4 on hill, and it means that it's a free cap for moro. That's why you need to pay attention to the cart, ladies and gentlemen. That is the objective after all.
Jurkas gets a little step down to orange, however, instantly point-blank headshot by Chocolate, who is still developing his Rain, and Davey, followed by his fellow members on this outside area and on this little flank on the far right, seen from the defensive team's perspective, as Fusky is still getting tanked with the heals. However, Rail is in, whiffs the first step, gets the second one, and the Uber advantage comes in, but well, Layla responds in kind because only 5% Uber advantage.
Yes, it's not good. The demo man on Davey does manage to get outnumber, is starting to back up after getting solo tanked, but he doesn't quick enough and manages to fall to the stickies of Davey, who had just jumped out, but Dastron, Cannon and Blair all going down. That's all the cart pushes on the side of moro, which means there's no one to push the cart. You cannot win the point. And Feila eSports with the full reset. There's Davey actually trying to recontest the point. He is all alone. Nobody's contesting the cart though, and it means that now, because everyone's so slow, the heavy for Dastron is back and pushing the cart, and the damage from Davey was big enough, and it means that they are feeding players. Joe is just about up, and their battalions is forced out of Feila to block the point.
That battalion enabled his entire squad to hold this so much more comprehensively. Fusky, however, taking the head out of not even the headless pyro. He was playing quite well, but Old School falling down regardless of that. And in the consequence, still the sticky trap coming in huge from Joe, and he's enabled. He does get headshot for it eventually, but the damage is so significant on him, and he's definitely putting himself in a pretty juicy position. He's still in behind, still piping and stickying that tracks area. Number forward as well on that card. They don't want to give this third point up at all.
Yeah, that was a really smart Uber from Joe there. They had dropped 2, so they knew that they would have a better post. If they trade the Uber there, it means that the Uber is not going to be up for a push from moro when they actually will be able to have a good post. If they have a bad post, they can't push the cart, which means that trading the Uber there means moro are going to have to wait 40 seconds at least for another Uber charge, buying them a huge hold on third.
They're still controlling this with a banner, and the same success formula that worked for them beforehand. Be
soldiers
aggressive together. Yeah, the soldiers in the reflect from behind. Those are the pyrotechniques and mechanics applied these days. The soldier wasn't even looking at the pyro, but he still gets a fair and square reflect definitely to put in the flip. The yarn reflect of the sentry gun rockets kills Layla. What the hell? Sorry. Like, this game is so insane. These reflects from Yarn, I can't believe my eyes, man. That was such a insane play. I think we're a bit put out of proportion, and yeah, I mean, you can already tell that a lot of players are trying to get themselves pulled back together, and we're also trying to get that, but I mean, as you look onto moro, they're already on the spawn of Feila.
Sorry, I had a bit of a slight coughing fit there. That is my bad for being ill. But we do have so many frags on the side of Feila going down after a strong third hold. Losing your medic's Uber charge to a reflected sentry gun rocket is not ideal. And that means that moro with a massive Ubercharge advantage here, rolling the cart forward. Dastron holding close, stopping anyone coming in. People bursting onto the cart. The cart actually rolling back down. That's another 1 or 2 seconds for Feila Esports, even if they don't quite manage to block the cart for all the way. And it looks like they're not going to be able to, as this Uber is going to be able to clean up the last 2 players alive on Feila Esports. And it's a 6-minute 44 time for moro, which is approximately what they got before. And it does mean that Feila Esports are going to have a much better cap time than they did previously to take it to a 3rd round.
Sometimes, well, this entire game culminates into the heated and packed action that you've witnessed, but also sometimes tactical plans and whatever game sense you might want to employ gets absolutely wrecked apart by singular players and singular plays. And we saw not only how off-put we were again by those amazing plays, but also how it destroyed the entire dynamic. The defense was looking so strong, all the players were fully buffed up, the defense had their all their combo members always on point in the literal and metaphorical meaning of words, fully buffed, but it just took a reflect. And what I want to chit-chat once again about is that I know who is main calling for Feila, but I don't really know who's main calling for the other team. I have to give that unknown hero, however, a little bit of limelight, I suppose, since we're still meta calling some tactics, because whoever is calling is definitely having the right call to when they have to walk aggressive and when they have to back out, and the players are acting according. So, level packing game, gates to open up, 6:40 to go, and Layla is making this one go in their favor, probably, if they keep playing like that.
Yeah, I think Davey is probably the main call-up for moro. He has been in the past, but his calls have certainly been excellent on Product and Vigil so far. Davey does get headshot though, so maybe not the smartest play to peek the sniper, and in fact Fancy goes down as well, so no demo, no sniper, which means that moro are totally on the backseat here. Dastron going down as well. You'll most likely see Wiethoofd and co backing up towards the 2nd point. Feila Esports with a good cap time on first tier, quicker than moro with their previous cap. It's about 50 seconds, which is approximately what they had before. And we'll be looking for a nice Uber trade coming in. Big Roomba, Layla using that Uber charge over on hill. There's no flank for the side of moro in this post, but there's no combo for the side of Feila, which means it's going to be back to the drawing board for the attacking team.
Moro fought off those foraging players, and in the post-fight they eventually were able to reign superior. It did not look all that promising for them beforehand, since pretty good Uber push there from Feila. Didn't find all the players that they wanted to find, and therefore that forces them so far back. We have to watch the card though, it is relatively far back, not even out the tunnel all that much, but Number trying to peek this. Dastron, however, has this book read long ago, and he is always peeking him forward. Coolcat's still there getting sticked away. Raylan did find Dastron, but that was the only pick, and there's a little advantage even onto the offensive team. They might be able to use that because they still have the players down, and Raylan is going to get the step on that gun.
Yes, the Uber does come out. Wiethoofd again not building Uber very quickly, but she is nowhere to be found, as are the entire blue team, to be honest. Everyone's just dead. I'm not exactly quite sure how that happens when you have 25% Uber charge advantage pushing into a virtual second with nobody on the point, but that's what happened, and it means that moro come flooding back in with the battalion's backup, not even having to use their Uber to retake the point, and it's 4 minutes 25 seconds left on the clock, and Feila Esports needs something to happen, and they need to happen quickly.
Malign omen for Feila, since they don't really know what their game plan is going to be. However, Davey was in a 20-second respawner. I was maybe think about refreshing my HUD as he was down for so long. However, the steps come in, the force comes in. Dastron's weak after this encounter. Mong challenges Orange, who then gets gunned away by level 1 sentry gun, and the medics once again have equalized their percentages as what are used. I feel like Layla died somewhere.
Yeah, so as I was saying before, if the spies spy and the snipers snipe, then it's just gonna be same story, moro getting huge frags, and that's exactly what happened with 3 massive picks onto the combo, including Layla from the pick classes. And again, Namba getting fragged And Funsky going down though, that is going to open up a hill push for them as Davey goes down from railing. The pick classes are going absolutely huge on the soldiers and the spies, just doing so much work as the chase is on. The gun is going down. Wiethoofd is going to run away with equal Ubers with 3 minutes and 15 seconds left on the clock. It's very doable for Feila, but it's also looking pretty good for moro. 3 minutes more and they're in Prem.
If you already turned on British TV, then you can definitely say the chase is on, as it has to be on. It is only 3 minutes to go here, and they have to be forward. There was a defensive spy getting caught, didn't really get the frag there onto offensive sniper, and Destron still falling not even short there, since they have the longer Uber duration, and the Conjurer, or the battalion's backup rather, is going to be the backup that helps them, the lifeline. Destron still getting away, he's alive, he's getting tanked, but eventually they're going to play it safe, since Uber and number disadvantage, even the health disadvantage, into their own hands. So it is all Feila right now.
Yeah, Feila managing to push through that moro defense. You're wondering what the weakest link of that moro hold was, but you're not quite sure.
That's unfair, that's my talk.
As Feila have 2 minutes and 15 seconds to push into this last hold, and it's anybody's game, anybody's round. It's equal Ubers, equal numbers as Nambo comes up, and it looks like the battalion's back up, being popped slightly early to play aggressively into this red room, trying to catch Joe off, but not quite able to, as Feila just back up with 90% Uber charge, once again building quicker than Wiethoofd, but it doesn't seem to matter, and it looks like it's 1 minute 50 seconds on the clock, and the Ubers are popped out. The trade is happening, and it's so much better for moro. The post is going to be 5 seconds of Uber for moro, and they just run with the tails between their legs, and Funsky gets killed.
They have to watch out though, because Feila is still relentless on these tracks and going to walk off any ground that they are given. Orange already flying forward, and all the players of Feila on that card, they're still quite healthy and they're still fighting for it. Jan can't quite get onto it. It is the tie in the third map, and therefore going to the third round in this pre-season qualifier match. It is titled lower bracket final. It feels like a grand final in any means. We see everything that you love in Highlander, and you see the great plays, the turnarounds. The final round is going to decide who gets into Prem, so therefore you also have to bear a little bit with our puns. But if you've just been turning in, question, well, trick question, what have you been doing for the past 3 hours? Because it has been an absolute banger of a game, and therefore you should definitely keep your eyes peeled, rewatch that one. We are on the final round of that final map. Both teams have all their prize money on the line. I can't put my medal. Please stop laughing, it's quite unprofessional. No, but I'm going to hand it. Okay, so now we recollect ourselves. So we have to put our money where our mouths is, and I think I'm going to still go with moro, because I'm not sure if they've ever played Prem before, and I know that Joe has played Prem before, but I'm just going to quote Litfam. I'll bite its name. He says it's all or nothing. So it's all or nothing, it's a wetter matter, and we're going live now, you know, pun-free into the final round.
Oh, yeah. That, yeah, what you said. Moro have played Prem before.
Okay, well, then I'm for Feila.
But they haven't played it as much as Joe. I don't think anyone's played it as much as Joe, apart from STCK, quite possibly. As we head into this final round, oh my god, you got me there. As Orange gets sniped, we have Feila eSports in the blue, moro in the red, Feila eSports deciding to attack first, as we have our final round of Vigil to decide who our Premiership players are and who our Division 1 disappointments are as we head into the next season.
A Division 1 disappointment that already rolls off the tongue, and Joe did scrim a Div 1 team, so I'm not sure does he get comfortable in that division, but no, and all jokes aside, Cannon is the first one falling to that detonator. Joe already forward here, and Fusky getting sticked out, does survive on a sliver of HP. Mong falling to Raylan's stab, and I think Feila had the faster time, therefore they could decide what phase they wanted to be on in this deciding round, so they once again just want to set the pace.
Yes, they do indeed. There's no soldier on the side of Mong. We might see a trade coming out through tunnel like we usually do from Joe N and his teams, or we might just see a sack, we're not quite sure. We have a sack coming in, Orange bombing in, the force does indeed come out. There's Layla all the way back at the spawn with Clutie And it just means that this Ubercharge advantage for Feila is going to be huge for them. If they can get a nice Uber, get a few frags, you don't have to wipe the entire team, you don't have to kill the medic, just get 4 or 5 frags, and you'll get this second point almost for free. You do have to use your Uber, of course, but that is nowhere near as bad as being stuck on second point for 5 minutes.
I can mentally hear that Joe is imploring his team to please play this Uber advantage push right, because they have been in the position where they had Uber advantage before. Wata is going to get completely caught out, didn't have the early calls. Maybe the spy was even down in Yokas in a long respawner, and therefore they got completely wrapped from this side tunnel push. And Mong still on the battalion's backup, cleaning some players away. Chocolate not able to protect Layla, and Mong is still chasing, only going to find a level 2 sentry gun on the tracks, so they're going to cap that second point. Mong!
That is a huge bomb. Layla probably should have been playing all the way back into tunnel just so that she can't get bombed, but it's over now. But that was a really clinical push from Feila. They did catch Wata, which made them have an Ubercharge advantage. That is no longer the case, but they have capped the first 2 points in 1 minute 58, which is really, really fast paced for Vigil. And it looks like it's back to a reset, just trying to take a dry fight up the hill here. Dastron going down on the flank, a huge stab from Raylan, which is going to open up lots of space for Feila eSports to just come forward in. We have a level 2 gun from Clutie using the sentry gun popularized by Lorne. We have Funsky going down Chocolate as well. Everybody's down, but the car is up, and although Wata has an Ubercharge advantage, Feila eSports has just rolled through, and it's a 2 minutes 47 second time. This is incredible, Domaytoe.
Perfectly executed the dry fight, as Joe reads those situations so easy. He's been doing that for years and years and years, and they were able to push that off Uber. What they didn't have, and the players were all put into passive positions. Battalion's backup only coming in at the end of that fight, so not able to salvage anything. And right now the Ubers have equalized. Layla already has her team forward, and they're going to have a suicide wave even. I think Joe is going to fly in, going to get a lot of damage, but eventually and ultimately not getting the frags. Fusky falling, that is all that they get.
Is a really good frag though, and Funsky down for the next 12 seconds is going to be really big to try to get your sniper some space. He shouldn't be up with a buff too soon, so maybe they can get some good cart time, maybe they can get into a good position, but we'll have to see. Old School going down, as long as it's not Layla it doesn't matter all that much, but Davey still spamming those pipes and stickies as he now has to fall back out of Red Room. We have Feila taking Red Room. Here we go. It looks like they're now wanting to push in through main. Not exactly sure what they're trying to do. Layla's outside, so it looks like they're just trying to get as much card time. Maybe try to get some force or some gun pressure to kill that. Don't quite get anything concrete, but they did get some card time. They still have the Ubers in pocket. So it's just a bit of a prod, a bit of a poke as we head towards the latter stages of this attack.
With that, Cannon got a Christmas decoration ball onto Orange, and therefore that inhibited him from jumping in. And either way, if they wanted to push and have players bomb in from Red Room, or if they wanted to have a suicide wave, it denied both of those plays, because Orange therefore was weak and couldn't initiate anymore. Also, Chocolate getting spammed apparently as I speak on that little flank there on the tracks area. The Uber is going to come in quite so soon, and with no delay in for both of these teams. Joe wants to take this first fight, but he doesn't have the positioning. He doesn't have the players forward with him. All these players are weak. Cannon falling on the side, but it's not enough. It's not enough manpower.
Yeah, not enough manpower indeed, as they lose so many players. Railing getting the sap, but it's instantly removed by Yawn with the home wrecker, so nothing coming from that. But the Ubers are slightly in favour of Feila. If they build quicker, which they have been the entire game, they might get something done as the battalion's backup comes into Red Room to get Joe on the frags, put him in the respawn queue. Raylan getting fragged as well. So it is a slight Ubercharge advantage, but with no Joe able to push, there's nothing going to be coming of it as we head towards another equal Uber situation. Cannon getting fragged. The Uber is a lot worse though for Feila eSports as they come in. The Uber is popped 8 seconds after Feila's Uber, which means that everyone is going to die on the side of Feila if they stay in. So they managed to get out, Layla's the key survivor. Never mind. Jerkus gets the stab, and it's round 1 all over again. They're stuck on last. The time is ticking up, and it's not looking good for Feila eSports.
Even after 2 decades of playing Layla, it is still the caster's curse that gets the medic, and she's falling down in the result. It enables her, though, that is also the same storyline, to use and to switch to crits. It is a 30% crits and ticking 60% on Water, so they have to bank on the surprise factor because Water will have her Uber up. Also, I really like that Davy is finally getting supported by Mong and by Jerkus onto that red roam. Beforehand, he was pretty vulnerable because he was staying there alone, but they were able to intermittently change out their players and their heals, and that worked out like a charm. Raylan falling, Davy on a 5k, and it is still the crit streak ticking. That is one of their last lifelines because this stellar time from before is slowly diminishing.
Yeah, so actually getting to the point where if they capped right this second, it would be an average time at best. Yawn goes down, so there is no air blast in the post, but Layla goes down to Mong, so no crits whatsoever. Good start to the crits, but ended up not very well in the end. Got 4 frags though. They might be able to start to pressure this as they get their spawners up beforehand. This sentry gun does need to get spammed. A good enforcer shot or 2 would be an excellent sight to see for Feila eSports. The gun does go down. The sap is enough as we head in towards a dry push. We are back on Ubercharge for Feila eSports. The Reflect comes in to save Layla, but it's at cost of 3 of the players. They get some cart time. Cart is nice and forward now. It's in a good position, but this should have happened 5 minutes ago, Domaytoe. This is what they should have been prepping for, not a measly 3 minutes sitting around outside waiting for something to happen.
Maybe they're going to pick you up on the vibes and trying to, you know, say the opinion that you're still a Premiership level team, but Wata has her Uber advantage up here. I want to point out other players aside from Mong, but he's doing so much work alongside, though. Cannon is really playing that supportive role well. He even does survive that encounter, never mind, gets shot in the back out from the outside area. Chocolate still ringing some body and headshots before, but Yarn again has great denial abilities, and they even have a longer Uber duration.
Yeah, the Uber is just so much better. Mong does go down. Even if the Uber's better, the players are not in the post, and it looks so good for Feila. This push finally coming to fruition as we have so many people on the cart. The spy is blocking, but it's not enough, and we have an 8-minute 43-second time. Very similar to their first round push, and they didn't win that round, did they?
I can't recall, and I think they didn't, because I'm once again going to treat that as a rhetorical question. I mean, what we saw there was this relentless aggression that we're so used to from Feila on the third point, where they pushed them completely out of Uber. It was perfectly executed, and somehow Moro completely scrapped and stitched themselves once again together and had convincing red room holds and being forward with 3 or 4 players, even with a banner, and therefore that always inhibited the Feila team from pushing with health advantage or pushing on their own terms. Always had 1 or 2 players down, and Wata even had an Uber advantage. Crit Squeak not working at all, so that results and concludes into an 8:43 time, only 20 seconds of setup to go, and it is looking quite well for Moro. They have to keep their eyes peeled and their game set on, and their brain also set on winning this last 10 seconds, and then you just gotta go with the flow.
Yeah, they've got to put their foot down on the accelerator as they head towards Prem. That's their goal. We have damage coming out for Orange once again for his battalion's backup before he backs up towards the flank. Mong not quite able to catch anything with a fast bomb, but is able to get out with his life, as we have just a bit of prodding and poking from both sides. And Old School is the first casualty of the round.
Definitely is. Pyro also always very difficult to keep your life against like long distance classes, but also Joe falling, so this is such a huge opening right now for Moro already spearheading this onto Davy. Well, Davy is a bit alone, where's his team? But they should be already making pressure on the third point, as they even going to try a suicide wave. I do not agree with this play. They should have just walked it in. Joe was still down, but it doesn't lose them all that much, and they still have the time to play this. Only have to watch out for Water.
Yeah, that was a really, really big Uber hold from Layla there. She took a bunch of damage down to 50 or so health, but managed to keep onto that Uber, which is absolutely key. Feila need every single last second they can get as the Uber trade comes out through main. As we have the scout in the Uber, Layla's getting blasted back as the cycle of Ubers go around. Davey goes down, but so does Old School and the gun. So it's about an equal trade here as we have Yawn try to pressure in, but the damage is coming in. So much damage. Namba and Flipfam getting some frags on tunnel exit, but oh my god, Mong once again getting the frag onto Layla. And there's 3 players up. One player up, and it's Joe, and he's just going to go down. It's a full wipe on the second. We have some spawners, but they're not going to be contesting whatsoever. And it's 6 minutes, 54 seconds to cap 2 points to get into Prem. Moro can taste it on their tongue.
And they're already so far forward. Raylan, however, does have some salvaging steps to throw in the fray, and there's still Old School trying to gun something away. Mong is flying in. Layla takes a second rocket, but does ultimately survive. And on the second point, you really needed on the side of Feila to play tightly knit together to tackle this disadvantage of having fewer players and try to play around the heals. But the problem was that there were in inopportune moments getting flanked from both sides, and this tunnel, this top right tunnel push was what won more the fight in that sense. Also Litfam trying to salvage something, but after Layla went down it was all curtains. And Layla doesn't even have Uber, and they're using here, so that could be pretty dangerous since they're already losing players. They don't have an Uber to respond to this aggression.
Yeah, they do now though, and here they come. Joe is popped all the way into the air, and he's actually going to die. He's completely denied by the Wrangler on the mini sentry, and it means that although the equal Uber situation is okay, the player situation is not. A nice save on the engineer there from Mong, but it's not enough to save the points as you have 5 minutes and 36 seconds to cap the final point for Moro as they come barreling in towards the final Premiership spot, but vying to push Joe N out of Premiership probably for the first time in about 18 or 19 seasons.
It was not enough, but maybe we can see if it will be enough for Feila. Still, they're clinging onto it and trying to play for dear life because there is no alternative point anymore. They have to make it all work on this last point, and 5 minutes is such a long time. Raylan, however, stabbing Davey helps. Yeah. This big, once again, this big suicidal wave coming in. Mong was in, and Layla went down to about 50 to 60 HP, had to pop full Uber advantage onto water.
Yeah, Layla would have survived, but there's no way of knowing that, and you don't want to drop. If you drop, it's curtains. At least you have heals for the incoming push, and you will have a good post. Joe will have crit heals coming out of the spawn. He will be 260 as they rotate towards the right-hand side. Namba gets absolutely popped up by Mong, but neither of them die. Mong's out of the fight. Wata gets caught in the post, and so does everybody in the combo. But the cart is so close. This is exactly what happened last time. Because they had a better Uber, they had a better amount of cart time than they should have actually had normally, and it means that somebody is going to have to be on this cart for the next 10 seconds before it rolls down this hill.
A major difference, however, is that Feila still has a lot of, and the majority of their players up, has an Uber advantage right here. What are not, well, changing to the crits, well, maybe that could have been a worthwhile thought, but never mind, as the action is so quickly shifting back onto that cart. Uber is popped to delay all this aggression. They are losing their players, so 3 down, Old School, Joe and Namba. The combo basically, aside from Water, all down. It's going to make it so difficult for them. 8 seconds still, and there's a huge from Mong. He doesn't care about your teeny tiny sentry gun. He's still going to claim that frag. Also the stab, really difficult. That might be it.
Yes, this is not looking good for Feila as Moro coming bundling in. It's 2 up, it's 1 up, and Moro, the final team in Prem, taking down Feila eSports, forcing them into Division 1. Heartbreak for Joe N and the crew, but elation for Cannon and his team of Moro. We can see some absolutely crazy damage numbers from both explosive classes on the side of Moro. Funsky getting top frag, but Mong with top damage, equal second frag along with Davey. Raylin putting in a bunch of work, Jerkaz equaling the number of frags, and it's just turned out to be too much for Feila to handle. Just bomb after bomb after bomb from Mong, and stab after stab after stab from Jerker. 6 medfrags apiece, and that's just what won them the game. Those absolutely huge damage bombs and huge impact stabs.
You got to point out also, I mean, you can always cherish the Feila playstyle of throwing your medic a bit forward and aggressive and accounting or having into the final account that your medic is probably going to die, but you have 18 frags onto Layla compared to the 6 deaths onto Water.
We hope that you have enjoyed this game. Balls to the wall action from start to finish. 2-0, 1-3, 1-2. That killed me. That was so fucking funny.
Well, the thing is, I organized a quiz for my, and I just had the buzzer like left to me, and that was, you know, if
so funny. Oh dear.